right, welcome back to the afternoon session of the May 2nd, 2023 public hearing and public meeting of the Landmarks Preservation Commission. We are resuming this afternoon with public hearing item number 5, and I will turn it over to Corey Harala, our Director of Preservation, to take us through the afternoon session.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. As stated, we'll start with public hearing item number 5, LPC 23-07180, an application for a certificate of appropriateness and the Borough of Manhattan, Block 834, Lot 11, 1260 Broadway, the Hotel Martinique individual landmark. This is a French Renaissance style hotel designed by Henry J. Hardenberg and built in 3 phases in 1897 to 98. 1901 to 03 and 1909 to 11. The application is to install a marquee, signage, light fixtures and louvers, and to establish a master plan governing the future installation of storefront infill.
Okay, commissioners, the applicants have entered the hearing. John, you now have control of the presentation. You can advance the slides using your arrow keys or your mouse. Please state your name for the record and you may begin.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I am John Field of Building Studio Architects. This presentation is for a master plan renovation of the storefronts at the Hotel Martinique. Before I begin, I would like to introduce Delana Duro from the new ownership group, which acquired this historic property in 2021 and have embarked on a major facade repair and long overdue improvements. Delana?
Thank you, John. Hi, I'm Delana Dura, and I'm with the ownership of the Martinique Hotel. I know you're very familiar with it. We're almost at 18 months since we have owned this property, and I personally have spent nearly every day on the property since then. And I regularly tell folks that this building has truly gotten under my skin, and I mean that in the best way. We are privileged, truly, to be able to steward this property. We're excited to be before you today to present our master plan. We love the history of this property, not only for its design, for its famous designer, for the way that it has been able to build into the history of the community around it, but we love where the community is going. We are excited to be a member of this community. My colleague, Andy Burnett, sits on the 34th Street Partnership Board. We're very active in the Greeley Square, Herald Square area with programming, with helping our neighbors to grow as we grow. You probably may or may not have walked by our building in the last 18 months, so you know that we're busy at work both on the facade and we are also busy at work inside. So since day one, we have been excited about the restoration. And what we're really excited about in this master plan is the way that John Field and his team at Building Studio Architects have been able to tease out a lot of the historical elements, some of which I wasn't even aware of until we had looked through a lot of the old photos, and to incorporate them into this. So we're privileged, and we thank you for the opportunity to present today, and we hope you're as excited about this as we are. I'll give it back to John.
Thanks, Delana. And good afternoon again, commissioners. Hotel Martinique is a major work of the prominent architect Henry J. Hardenberg and has been a designated landmark for over a quarter of a century. The building sits on 32nd Street. The building sits on 32nd Street and Broadway at Greeley Square. Hardenberg is also responsible for legendary properties such as the original Waldorf and Astoria hotels, the Plaza Hotel, and the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. The property was built in 3 phases. The first phase on 33rd Street in 1890. Phase 2 added a tower and retail frontage on Broadway in 1910. And phase 3 completely changed the orientation of the hotel to 32nd Street. 33rd Street originally shows a portico and marquee in a rendering. The Broadway phase 2 facade circa 1900 shows a columnar facade at the ground floor. Phase 3 at 32nd Street created a new prominent entrance with marquee and reoriented the hotel to Greeley Square, the bustling district of performance theater and arts at the time. Prior to Landmark's designation, the ground and second floors were modernized and retained little of the historic detail from the Hardenberg design. This master plan proposal addresses the first and second floor street facades of the building, incorporating existing conditions and new tenant requirements. On 32nd Street, a reclad of the existing marquee is proposed with new infill storefront and facade restoration in an historic fashion reminiscent of the original Hardenberg design. On Broadway, the proposed infill storefront continues with installation of Tuscan order columns reminiscent of the original Phase 2 portion of the facade. 33rd Street takes the only non-historic portion of the building facade and reworks the louvers in a balanced symmetry with doors and awnings for tenant restaurant space. The hotel is operated by Hilton as part of their curio collection. We aim to bring the spirit and elegance of the Landmark exterior back to the entrance and pedestrian level. I'll now introduce the specifics of the elements we propose. The existing marquee along 32nd Street was installed with a black granite surround in the 60s. We took inspiration in our design from the historic Hardenberg marquee and other period hotel marquee. We have developed a new prominent design with glass and ornamental stampings from W.F. Norman, the original foundry used at the turn of the century, which is still operating. This is a reclad in the spirit of the original design and uses the same structure as the existing marquee. The polished black granite surrounding the entrance is to be removed and the stone behind restored to maintain the original deeply rusticated profiles at the entrance. We are also proposing new storefront infill at the facades, recalling the fan arch windows from the original Hardenberg design. These windows are painted aluminum frame with cap moldings. Our design intent here is to work with existing remaining historic material, as well as allow for existing more recent louvers in the fan arch portion above our intermediate headband. Broadway continues this fan arched fenestration at the retail storefronts and adjusts the module, allowing for existing louvers to remain. The aluminum tube windows have cap molding profiles to soften the modern material and provide a historic feel at the street. Painted wooden doors with sign bands are shown at retail entrances. The intermediate headband is slightly more pronounced than Hardenberg's design. It allows separation for us of the fan arch and reduces the impact of the areas with overall louver infill. Another element on the Broadway facade are the Tuscan order columns. They appear to have been removed for a retail marquee and retail entrance as seen in this image from 1951. Today, it's an aluminum clad non-historic infill of this original granite portico, which is important to note that the surrounding portico here is existing and is granite. That stands in contrast to the limestone everywhere else. We propose to replicate these Tuscan columns on a true granite base. The columns themselves are proposed as cast GFRC to closely match the existing granite surround and allow for constructability around the existing frame. Infill at the columnar areas is more regularized, but maintains continuity with the design and logic of the fan arch profiles. Here we have a wooden painted bulkhead at the street as well. Tenant signage is proposed at the existing facade with a back box and soft illumination to hide mechanical soffits, which are directly behind the glass at the low entrance door. This is a first step in the restoration for us, as this works with the existing aluminum frame doors and cladding. There's also a hanging sign menu board there in these windows. The second step, as the columns are installed, become a pair of doors. These are wooden doors with a similar sign band and similar soffit treatment. The detail is included here of the sign box that's hanging inside the window. It's bronze. 33rd Street proposes maintaining the existing ground floor openings and a simplified ornamentation at this retail and service entrance. There's a new granite profile base that's being installed and new doors in the center with repaired rustications and a rework of a masonry opening to balance the facade for louvers. Wood tripartite doors are proposed as replacement in the center location to match the previously approved wood frames at this facade. Bronze uplit owl sculptures are proposed here as well in lieu of signage flanking the centered entrance. Our materials and colors on the facade coordinate bronze paints, greens for 33rd Street entrances and awnings, new granite matching the old granite for the coordinated base, and a limestone paint color for the existing painted facade and new areas of work and repair on the facades. Our final major element to the project is the replacement of existing vertical signage along Greeley Square. This is proposed in historical terms and celebrates the hotel's long ties to vaudeville theater and the Martinique Theater. The signage proposed remains in its existing locations, slightly reduced in projection from the existing sign box. We have designed bare filament LED channel letters, reminiscent of historic vaudeville theaters. Existing brackets are used for mounting locations. I'll conclude our presentation here and address questions. The balance of the material in the appendix provides additional detail and specifics for this master plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, commissioners, do we have any questions? I don't see any questions. Oh, yes, Commissioner Chu, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood where all the proposed retail signage would be. I could see that there was a band over the entry door in that one slide. Are there no other signage locations needed or proposed in this design?
I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
facade. So on the Broadway facade, whoops, let me go back a little more. On the Broadway facade, we have this sign, the soffit sign band above the door here. Also have a blade sign that's within staff conformance here, both for this establishment. This is a sign band here for the retail establishment, currently Chase Bank, at the Broadway facade. There's no other signage proposed for tenants on this facade. There are sign bands incorporated here for signage, should it be needed.
Okay.
And on 33rd Street, there is no signage. There are only the bronze owls.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Jefferson.
A question on the marquee. The original was much longer and you reduced it. What's the thinking behind that? Why the reduction in length?
There are a couple of things. Primarily, we're working with the structure of the existing marquee that's there now,
Okay.
which is reduced in size.
Okay.
They've been doing so much work here. Every time they open this building up, it's a risk of doing more harm. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, thank you. Got it.
So we felt that was the appropriate treatment. We did look at a longer facade, but it was unworkable.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I don't see any other questions at this time, so we'll move to public testimony. If you're in the meeting and would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand so we can identify you. And I will turn it over to Gregory Kalla to take us through the testimony.
Thank you, Chair Carroll. We received a couple of signups beforehand for this item, so we'll be hearing from them. The first signup is Lucy Levine from the Historic Districts Council. So Lucy Levine, I am promoting you to panelist right now. And if you could please unmute your line and state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Lucy Levine. I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC commends this applicant's study and finds the proposed marquee to be an appropriate and lovely adaptation of the original. We would encourage the applicant to use real rather than synthetic materials for the column restoration. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And next up, we will be hearing from John Graham from the Victorian Society of New York. So John Graham, I am promoting you to panelist right now. And if you could please unmute your line and state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society of New York. The applicant for 1260 Broadway is proposing a number of significant changes to this long neglected landmark. The Victorian Society is happy to support work which addresses decades of neglect, and we are confident that the building's overall appearance will be vastly improved. However, as is often the case when many individual elements are being addressed, we believe some need additional refinement. We fully support the proposed indirect lighting package, the modifications to the vertical signs, and the storefront signage. The painted wood and glass doors on the 33rd Street side of the building, shown on drawing 27, are a good match for historic doors found on buildings of this age and type. The new louvers the applicant is proposing to install behind Muntin grids in several locations, finished to match the grids, will be unobtrusive. Although the proposed marquee is shorter than the historic marquee, we believe it is large enough to balance the mass of the building and will draw attention in all the right ways. However, we urge the applicant to restore the globe lights at each corner of the marquee, as seen in both the historic drawing and the historic photograph on board 16. And while we accept the cable supports above the marquee, we also urge the installation of a pair of the historic bracket supports set under the marquee, which are also seen in the historic photos. We support the installation of the ground floor windows with circular heads and Muntin grids. However, there aren't any dimension drawings for the grids. In the elevation on board 16, they look too wide and too flat. A dimension section of the grids should be provided. On board 16, there's also a drawing of the round-headed windows showing a new existing or replicated historic decorative band. This raises two questions. First, it looks like the design of the proposed bands is taken from the historic square-headed windows instead of the historic round-headed windows. They have similar detailing, but it's not the same. They should use the detailing on the round-headed windows. They should also use second, the material and finish of these bands isn't shown. Board 21 shows new decorative GFRC columns set on stone bases on the Broadway facade. Since there aren't any actual samples we could see and touch, we don't know what the final finish will be like. We urge special care in approving samples of these columns set above the sidewalk, which will be easy for pedestrians to give the thump test, touching and knocking things with an umbrella that are only 2'6" above the sidewalk. The material needs to be thick enough to sound like stone. Finally, we were disappointed that the applicant didn't provide drawings showing the full extent of the terracotta and stone repairs on the lower two floors. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. I am looking through the attendees list and I do not see any other hands raised. So I will just note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 5 recommends conditional approval so long as the applicant excludes a tenant-specific one-blade sign affixed to the cast column and 2 sculpture owls from the master plan, and considers taking the best effort steps to reduce visibility of the lighting fixtures from the street view and limit the penetrations to the historic fabric of the building through the restorative process to preserve the integrity and historic character of the building. And with that, I'll bring it back to you, Chair Carroll.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to turn back to the applicant team and ask if you'd like to respond to any of the comments we've heard.
So yes, I can respond to Mr. Graham's comments. And certainly with the bracket supports on the marquee, this was something that we had considered. and worked with staff to eliminate, mostly because of ADA concerns there at the street and the projection that those brackets may have from the building. We are using these lantern fixtures, which you can just see here in this little rendering, to emulate those and to provide a memory of those. Glass globe lanterns also were not part of this, simply from an aesthetic point of view. We will continue to work with staff to refine some of the restorative elements that are approved at staff level. As for Community Board 5, the blade sign was relocated from the column to stone pier, and the lighting that they were concerned about, again, is something we're going to continue to work with staff on to minimize its impact.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any final questions? All right, I'm going to ask you all to unmute so that we can move to our discussion. All right, and Commissioner Chen, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chapin, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing is closed and we'll begin our discussion. And so this is a proposal to do a lot of great work at the ground floor to bring this building closer to its historic appearance, but there are a number of aspects that we need to discuss. One includes at the upper floors, recladding the existing signs with new signs. At the ground floor, recladding the marquee with a new design that is more evocative of the historic design. Installing, creating a new master plan for storefronts, which would include painted wood bulkheads, wood doors, and aluminum framing finished to match that would have articulated profiles. And in addition, it also includes restoring some of the rhythm at the ground floor with piers fabricated in GFRC. And finally, there are some louvers in the transom areas, recreating fan lights and the installation of signage. So we'll begin our discussion. Commissioner Lutfi, would you like to? Oh, and I do want to note for the record that Commissioner Goldblum is recused on this item and has not been present for the presentation discussion and is not present for our commissioner discussion. All right, Commissioner Lutfi, would you like to start this one?
Sure. Okay, I just want to make sure I cover everything. So if I don't, let me know.
Okay.
Overall, I think the applicant has done a really wonderful job on a beautiful building, trying to bring back, especially at the ground floor, some of the features that were marring it. So I think it's great that they've removed all of that infill. And overall, I think that the storefronts that they've done a good job on the storefronts. The wood surround on the doors look good. I'm just going back here. Hold on. The signage is understated. The signage that we're seeing anyway right now is a placeholder. They said they've moved the blade sign, which I think is a good idea. I'm okay with the louvers. I think they look terrific. I'm not feeling great about the GFRC, and it doesn't seem from I happen to agree with some of the testimony that they're, number one, it has to be something that's more solid, and it seems like they're doing the project a disservice by not using something that is, both visually and just in terms of the rest of their work. Let me just see. I think the marquee, the work on the marquee is. I mean, I'm pretty good with a lot of this. I think the work on the marquee is excellent, and I understand about the thinning. I also think the vertical signage works very nicely. And am I missing anything?
I think that's it. Did you cover you covered the vertical signs, right?
Someone had
Yeah.
made, yeah, I did. Someone
Great.
had made a comment about eliminating some of the owls. I actually think one owl could be eliminated, maybe the one in the middle, and there could be owls flanked on either side.
All
That's
right.
it.
And is that just to push you a little bit further on that, is that because they are sort of novelty signs in terms of their shape and being an owl, or just if no matter what they were, if they were, there's just one too many on that
I think
facade?
there's just one too many.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Commissioner Bland?
Isn't it marvelous how Hardenberg's architecture is so consistent? I mean, you know, unless you really study it closely, this might be the Plaza or the Willard. Anyway, it's a great piece of architecture, which is, I think, now being restored and reimagined in good hands. I really support everything that I think was presented with careful attention to some of the Victorian Society's testimony that should be handled, I think, at staff. I'm not going to go into a litany of I like this, I like this, I like this. I think the overall is the key, and I think staff can work with any rough edges around. I guess the marquee is wonderful. I guess maybe the controversy is the GFRC. I think it's probably all right, but I could go along with other more real materials. And I think the blade sign is there, and I think it's okay.
Okay, and just to sort of talk a little bit about the GFRC, you know, the glass fiber reinforced concrete, it is not it's not plastic like
Exactly.
fiberglass reinforced plastic.
Right.
So it's different from FRP. So GFRC has a masonry quality to it
Right.
that the commission has often approved.
I think the question is just at that level,
Yeah.
but maybe it's often approved at that level as
And
well. I'm not
We
sure.
have done it as well at the
Yeah,
lower floors,
okay.
yeah. Okay, Commissioner Jefferson?
This is such an incredible restoration. It's just so very well done. I think all the issues that I covered, the signage, the lighting, the louvers, and the establishment of a master plan, it's all excellent. My only concern, and it's a tiny one, small, is that the marquee is beautifully where it is now, but you see the scale of it in relationship to the base of the building. I would imagine the original one had so much presence that it was just bold. This is a marquee of 2020, our time. That marquee was one of another time. So that's my only disappointment, but everything else is wonderful.
Okay, thank you. And I do hear you, although they are working with the existing structure, so.
Yeah.
At least the details will be more evocative.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Ginsburg.
I want to agree with my other commissioners' comments. This is a wonderful job. I think everything is approvable. It would be nice to have a bigger marquee, but I understand why they're not doing that. And is the comment on the GFRC, if it has a certain hollow sound, one can put some insulation inside to deaden the sound so that it feels solid. And I think they mentioned it has more flexibility when you get to the site and have to deal with the field conditions of cutting, et cetera. And I think it's fine.
Okay, thank you. And I see the applicant nodding, so I think that suggestion about the dealing with it on site with insulation is a good idea. Commissioner Chu?
I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think this is a really nice proposal. It brings a lot of the historic detail back. I really appreciate the details of true divided window lights. I mean, down to the level of that detail, as well as replacing those columns does so much to bring back the depth of facade and distinction between the stone and the storefronts that the existing condition just flattened and completely annihilated. So I think that's wonderful to see again. The only comment I would make is some of the more decorative elements, like the owls, just make sure staff work with them that be removable so that the detail attachment is something that could come off. I don't mind them. There used to be beautiful lamps on the buildings that were up at a higher elevation, and I realized those are gone. So the building did have a precedent of attachments on the face of the stone. Otherwise, I think it's fantastic.
Okay, great. Thank
Yes.
you. Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, I echo all the accolades from the commissioners. This is wonderful to see a new ownership taking charge of a historic building so quickly and trying to restore it to its beauty. I totally agree about the marquee. I think rather than making it extra large, I think, by being understated and given the fiscal constraint, that's appropriate. I also agree with Commissioner Ginsburg and Commissioner Chu's comment about, I don't mind the decorative element, given the historic context, but make sure to work with the staff that, leave no damage to the existing building or that it be removable. But otherwise, it's a wonderful job.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Master?
Yes, I echo all the other commissioners' comments. It's a magnificent building, and the applicant has done a phenomenal job in bringing back a lot of the historical features, including the fan arch windows, the marquee, the sign. They've just done a wonderful job, a big improvement on what is now. I just want to say I like the owl sculpture. I think it's wonderful, but I'll go along with whatever everybody else says. But I commend the applicant. It's magnificent.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chapin? Oh, you're muted, Diana.
I also think this is a terrific project, and it's great that they're doing a master plan and all of the elements, the lighting, the marquee, even the GFRC, I think is fine, the signage. As far as the owls, I also agree that the owl sculptures are kind of a nice whimsical element. And I think when Jean was referring to the decals, that maybe you only need one or two decals, I'd say one on the front entrance, but that's a pretty minor matter. But I think everything in the project is really just first rate for the most part. So I'm happy to approve it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think we have enough to support it with the condition that they, as always, work with the staff on all of the details, and particularly making sure that the attachment points for the owls are within our standards, and that and to identify field conditions when the GFRC is being installed to ensure that it doesn't have a hollow sound. So I know Commissioner Lutfi, you had concerns about the amount of the owl decals. I think
Just the decals. I'm fine.
Are you okay making a motion to approve it with the condition that they work with the staff on the attachment details for the sculptures and the field conditions for the GFRC?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
In the matter of docket 23-07180, 1260 Broadway, Hotel Martinique, individual landmark. A French Renaissance style hotel designed by Henry J. Hardenberg and built in 3 phases in 1897-98. Building segment 1, 1901 to 1903, building segment 2, and 1909 to 1911, segment 3. The application is to install a marquee signage, light fixtures, and louvers, and to establish a master plan governing future installation of storefront infill. I know that the Hotel Martinique was built in 3 phases, and the first section of the hotel was built on West 33rd Street in 1897-98. The second section was built on Broadway in 1901-03, and the third and final section was built on the northeast corner of Broadway and West 32nd Street in 1909-11, and at the base of the building has been altered over time. I recommend approval, finding that the removal of modern storefront infill and black granite cladding will eliminate unsympathetic alterations that detract from the significant architectural features of the building without causing the removal of any historic fabric, that the size of the existing marquee on West 32nd Street will be maintained, that the existing structure and anchors will be reused, and the new ornamental metal cladding will return this element closer in appearance to the historic marquee, which was replaced prior to designation. That the proposed 3-story tall vertical signs will be reclad, and the design and materials of the new sign faces, including illuminated channel letters with exposed bulbs, will recall signage historically found on buildings of this age, style, and type. That the proposed storefront infill at the West 32nd Street and Broadway facade, featuring dark brown painted paneled wood bulkheads and doors and painted bronze color aluminum framing with profile details, will recall the design, configuration, and proportions of the historic infill while supporting a unified and commercially flexible treatment at the building's base. That the reintroduction of the fan light transoms and masonry piers and columns will return the base of the building closer to its historic appearance, and the GFRC substitute materials for columns will match historic limestone in color and texture. That the louvers will be installed very neatly within masonry openings at the second floor with mullion grills, and mullion grills will be installed in front of the larger louvers to help break down their scale and to better relate to adjacent windows. That the proposed illuminated shadow box sign at the Broadway facade will hide an existing drop soffit condition behind the transom and will be modest in scale and presence. That the proposed storefront infill at the West 33rd Street facade, featuring regularized brown painted paneled wood and glass doors and display windows, will maintain consistency at the base of the facade and will be in keeping with the color and details of the storefront infill at other facades. That the proposed bracket mounted bronze owl figurines as novelty signage are small in size and limited in number, and will be installed at areas of flat masonry and will be reversible, and that the establishment of a storefront master plan, which will allow for storefront infill options while different phases of restoration occur, will provide for a unified pattern of ground floor infill over time. I recommend that the applicant continue to work with staff on some of the details, including attachment points on the marquee and other important refinements.
Great, and to address the sort of the solid sound of the GFRC in the field.
Right, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Bland, would you second that motion?
Second.
All right. Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Aye.
Commissioner Bland,
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lutfi,
Aye.
Commissioner Master.
Aye.
With 9 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes.
So that's approved. Thank you. Please continue to work with the staff on those details, and we'll move to the next and final item.
Thank you, commissioners.
The
Thank you.
last item of the day is public hearing item number 6, LPC 23-09159. An application for an advisory report in the Borough of Manhattan, block 1957, lot 200 Convent Avenue, City College, CUNY North Campus, an individual landmark. This is an English collegiate Gothic style university building known as Wingate Hall, designed by George B. Post, built in 1897 to 1906. The application is to amend Commission Advisory Report 19-33546 to alter the east facade and areaway to create a barrier-free entrance, including a portal, ramp, steps, and lampposts.
Okay, commissioners, the applicants have entered the hearing. Carl, you now have control of the presentation. You just need to click on your screen. And then you can advance the slides using your arrow keys or your mouse. Please state your name for the record and you may begin.
Carl Stein, representing Elemental Architecture and the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York. This is an amendment to a previously approved application, which involved primarily interior changes to Wingate Hall to make it fully accessible. The amendment that we're requesting is to create a new entrance on Convent Avenue that will provide access to the elevator and to what is intended to be a major new lecture hall at the ground level. Just as a quick review, the previous plans that were submitted showed the interior work and identified the items that affected the exterior of the building, which are here shown with the solid red bars. It was quite minimal. There were several slit windows or lancet windows that open into what is becoming an elevator shaft. And we requested and received approval to make these blind windows, which are keeping with similar windows on other parts of the Gothic campus. The other thing that we requested permission to do is take an existing utility door, which enters into a stair shaft, and at the time we were told was the only possible location for an on-grade access, and remove a hollow metal door and just a rather unfortunate installation with something that was more in keeping with what would become a public entrance. Again, these were the windows that became blind windows. Here on the building. This is the existing door, and this is what was proposed to replace it. At the time, and we commented on this, we felt there were two problems with this location. And at the time, we said we didn't see an alternative. One is every other entrance into one of the Gothic buildings on the City College campus is located symmetrically on the facade. This is tucked into a corner. And the second thing is it comes into a very constricted space. And what is likely to become the major entrance to the building in terms of usage, it just seemed inappropriate. Again, the north facade of Wingate facing the quad, as you can see, the door is not at all easily accessible. Certainly, in terms of doing something that is architecturally appropriate, it's very difficult. The other areas that we'll be talking about are the east facade, and here there are 3 trees that were planted here that have been removed in the photograph. The trees were planted because these windows had been taken over for exhaust from equipment in the cellar. And as part of the installation of the new elevator, all of those exhausts are being run to the roof and will be exhausted through the cupola in the corner there. And then again, the southeast corner with the utility entrance. Just to give you a quick sense of the campus for those who haven't had the pleasure of visiting, these are various entrances to the Gothic buildings. All of these are buildings on the quadrangle, which is on the west side of Convent Avenue, the east side being Shepherd Hall. And I would particularly call attention to Baskerville, which is the only other Gothic building facing the west side of Convent Avenue. So this is at the north end of the campus on Convent Avenue, and the facade that we'll be looking at is on the south end. Other entrances, and some precedents at Shepherd Hall, which is the main building of the campus, both in terms of the material of the doors, the ironwork that is characteristic now of the site, the lampposts, which for the most part are cast replicas, aluminum replicas of the original cast iron lamps that were installed when the building opened in 1907. Again, additional precedent material. And our proposal is to take this area of the, well, let me just take half a step back to say that the project, which was approved, I believe, in 2019, I believe, was delayed by COVID. And in the course of the time thinking about the project, and also with work going on at Baskerville Hall at the other end of Convent Avenue, it became apparent that there was an option with a little bit of additional work to enter the building in the center of the east facade. And that meant coming through the area where the 3 windows are now and leaving this just as a utility entrance. Our proposal is to create an opening in the facade using a vocabulary that is characteristic of virtually all of the entrances to the Gothic Revival buildings, and to adjust the existing site walls to permit stairs, centrally located stairs, and a ramp behind the site walls, which brings us into what was an oversized corridor and becomes a fairly comfortable lobby with direct access now to the elevator or to the stair to get to the other floors of the building. The current plan is for Wingate to become student activity spaces on the second and third floors, or actually nominally the first and second floors. The upper floor will remain a gymnasium type space, and the ground floor has public safety on the perimeters, and in what was a swimming pool, a large lecture space. A larger plan of what's being proposed. Again, the vocabulary of the Manhattan schist site walls, the granite coping, the cast aluminum replicas of the lamps at the entrance, and decorative ironwork is taken from the adjacent spots on the building, on the campus. These are essentially details that have been used elsewhere and have been approved on a number of occasions by the commission. And what we're proposing is going from the condition on the left to the condition on the right. Again, for reference, this is the other facade facing Convent Avenue. And I would point out that while it currently looks like this, although you can't see it because there's scaffolding which is about to come down, but there's a project underway to reconstruct the entrance of Baskerville with a similar situation of the schist walls embracing stairs and a ramp coming in. This was also approved by the commission and is currently under construction. We're just receiving stone shop drawings as we speak. So again, what we're requesting is permission to create this entrance, both the adjustment, the modification of the east facade, and slight modifications to the site wall to accommodate the entrance, leading to this as a representative but clearly secondary entrance to the building, leaving the entrance to the quad as a much more dramatic entry. And also, since the utility entrance no longer needs to be the accessible point, this little ramp platform and a very unfortunate aluminum railing can be removed, just leaving the utility door tucked into the corner of the building. The material proposed is cast stone, which is the same material that was used in the restoration of Wingate in previous work that was done in the early 1990s. The particular stone was submitted and approved as part of the approval for the proposed modification to this entrance in the earlier submission. That is essentially, that is our presentation, and
Okay.
We look forward to your comments.
Thank you very much. All right, commissioners, do we have any questions? All right, I don't think we have any questions at this time, so we'll move to public testimony. If you're in the meeting and would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand so we can identify you, and I will turn it over to Gregory Kala to take us through the testimony.
Thank you, Chair Carroll. We received a couple of signups in advance for this item, so we'll be hearing from those people. The first sign up we have is Lucy Levine from the Historic Districts Council. So Lucy Levine, I am promoting you to panelist right now. And if you could please unmute your line and state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lucy Levine. I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC is pleased to support this elegant solution at City College. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. And next up, we'll be hearing from John Graham from the Victorian Society in New York. And John Graham, I'm promoting you to panelist right now. So if you could please unmute your line and state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society in New York. We're happy to support the proposed new entrance to Wingate Hall. The replacement of street-level windows with a sensitively designed door is a reasonable and respectful way to update George Post's design for modern needs. Using the historic building's vocabulary and details for the new archway echoes the arched windows on the top floor and preserves the character and unity of Post's original design. We're particularly happy to see the inclusion of the beautiful lampposts and feel this alteration will be a welcome addition to the building. We also commend the approach of infilling the openings in the tower to create blind windows where the elevated shaft will be, a traditional approach to preserving the symmetry of a facade. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. I am looking through our attendees list right now, and I do not see any further hands raised. So I will just note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 9 recommends approval. And I will bring it back to you, Chair Carroll.
Okay, thank you very much, Gregory. So the testimony was all supportive. Commissioners, do we have any final questions for the applicant? All right, I don't see any. I'd like to turn to the applicant. Mr. Stein, would you like to make any final statement before we begin our discussion? I think your presentation was very good.
Thank you. The only thing I would add, just because of my enjoyment of having worked on this campus for the last 3.5 decades, is the awareness of the incredible variation within the general Gothic revival vocabulary of the different buildings. And most of our work has been on Shepherd Hall, but each time we do something on one of the other buildings, I feel that it's a new learning process to get into the mind of Post and the people in his office and what they were thinking. All I can say is I hope that the enjoyment that I get from this work is a little bit shared with the commission.
Okay, great. Thank you. It is a wonderful campus, and we're delighted that you take its care so seriously and are so thoughtful with all of the adaptations and updates you need to make. All right, so why don't we move to close the hearing and we'll begin our discussion. Commissioner Master, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chen, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed and we'll begin our discussion. And, as was presented, we previously approved creating a new barrier-free entrance on the south elevation. And over time, the college has rethought some of their priorities and approach to this, and have determined that it would be most appropriate to put their barrier-free entrance on the Convent Avenue facade. And the applicant has shown us the details on how that would be done and some of the details on other entrances throughout the campus. So we'll begin our discussion. Commissioner Goldblum, would you like to start this one?
Sure. This is a perfectly well done application. I think it's totally appropriate.
All right, great. Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson.
I echo that. This is beautifully done, well thought through. Nothing more to be said.
Okay, great. Commissioner Chu?
Yes, I echo both the fellow commissioners' comments. I just also want to say that I like how in this case, they look carefully at the campus flow. Students, as we know, move the shortest distances possible, and that definitely seems to be the artery here on the campus. Getting this to become more frontal and welcoming, I think, is wonderful. And the design proposal, I think, is perfectly in keeping with the style of the existing building.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
Totally appropriate.
Back and back.
Vice Chair
Thank you.
Bland?
You know, George Post couldn't have done it any better. So yes, very appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, totally in agreement with the rest of the commissioner. This is unfortunately, when I went to architecture school there, I wasn't privy to come up to the upper campus. I was in an asbestos-filled building on Broadway, 133rd Street. So if I get lung cancer, you know what happened to me. Back then it was the School of Architecture Environmental Studies, and so I wish the architecture school still have the environmental study component. But it's a wonderful project. My only advice to the applicant is that please preserve the stones that you encountered that you can still reuse, because those came from the excavation of IRT subway that created this beautiful campus. And to as an accolade to this city that used to do things, this subway was built from the back of City Hall to the Harlem campus in 4 years, from the conception of 1904 to 1908. This city used to be able to move rapidly. Now we can't even get an environmental study done in 4 years. I echo all the commissioner. This is a wonderful project and it's very sensitively done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Master?
Yes, beautiful building, beautiful entrance. It's wonderful.
All right, great. Thanks. And Commissioner Chapin?
Yeah, it's great that they're relocating it to the centralized location. It looks so much better. So it's definitely a fine proposal.
Thank you. All right. So I think we're all in agreement and we can make a motion to issue a
Sarah?
positive. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip you? Please.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm in complete agreement. Wellington, thank you for all that background. That was fantastic. And I'm in complete agreement. And in a way, this photo says it all. I mean, the new entrance fits in perfectly.
It does. And I think it will be sort of more inclusive having this entrance right on Convent Avenue. So we'll go ahead and make a motion to issue a positive advisory report. Commissioner Goldblum, would you make that motion?
Absolutely. Give me a second. Okay. Regarding 200 Convent Avenue, City College, North City University of New York, North Campus, an individual landmark. The application is to amend a commission advisory report number 19-33546 to alter the east facade and areaway to create a barrier-free entrance, including a portal, ramp, steps, and lamp posts. I note that there was I could skip that. I recommend a positive report be issued, finding that the proposed work will provide barrier-free access, a new primary entrance to the building, that the removal of tripartite 1/1 windows and limited sections of masonry will not eliminate or damage any unique or otherwise significant architectural features. The presence of a new, prominent Gothic-style entrance centered at the base of a street-facing facade will be compatible with the style and hierarchical organization of the building and consistent with the placement of entrances at other buildings within the complex. That the scale and level of ornamentation at the entrance will be compatible with the composition of the facade. That the new entrance will not exceed the height of the band course above the base, thereby supporting the prominence of the historic assembly of windows at the terracotta and terracotta at the upper floors. But the materials, finishes, and details of the terracotta surrounding wood infill will closely recall such aspects at other entrances at this building and others within the complex, that the removal of a small section of the areaway wall will provide needed access to the ramp without diminishing the overall sense of solidity and uniformity of the wall. That the granite ramp, metal railings, cast aluminum lampposts will harmonize with the materials and details of the facade and of the site, and that the proposed work will not detract from the special architectural and historic character of this building within this historic individual landmark complex.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chen, would you second that motion?
Delighted to second.
Thank you. Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Oh, John, thank you, John. Aye.
Vice Chair Bland,
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lutfi,
Aye.
and Commissioner Master.
Aye.
10 in favor, none opposed. The motion passes.
All right, that's approved. Thank you so much.
Hey, Mark,
And-
I didn't vote.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all.
John,
Oh, John, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Chu.
oh,
Yes.
Goldblum.
Goldblum.
Oh,
close.
Goldblum. Goldblum. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner
Aye.
Goldblum. I'm sorry. 11 in favor, none opposed.
Well, there's actually 10 of us today.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right.
Michael
thank-
counts for two.
Well, that
All right.
Actually, if I could just add one more thing, and that is, I'd like to thank the staff for being very helpful with the discussions that we had leading up to this. I think that a substantial part of the success of this presentation was due to their input.
That's great. Thank you so much for acknowledging the
Thank you.
staff. They work very hard with all applicants, and it's great to hear the feedback. Thank you. All right, so that concludes our day today, and we will come back on May 9th next week for our public hearing and meeting then. And so thank you all for your work today, and we'll see you in a week.